Hey there, it is Rachel. Let's talk about when your child wants things to go their way and why, even though you may have talked to them about being more flexible, you're unable to get them to change. So maybe you have a child who wants things to go their way. They imagine something is going to go the way they want it to, and when it doesn't go that way, they get really upset. So maybe you're all on a car ride and you're going to listen to an audiobook and they're insisting that everyone listen to what they want to listen to. Or maybe you're making dinner for them and they insist that they want what they want for dinner. And if you make something else, they get really upset. And often because we're dealing with our children's inflexibility and big emotions on a regular basis, we're just giving them what they want because very honestly, it's a lot easier. And when you do that, what you're often told is that you're giving in too much and that you should stop giving them what they want so they learn to be more flexible. And chances are you've tried that and it hasn't worked. All that happens when you don't give in to them is they get more upset. And I want to explain why that is. I want to explain why the advice you're often given doesn't work. Very basically, while it's true that kids need to learn how to be more flexible, they don't know how to be more flexible just because you put them in situations where they need to be more flexible. So this would basically be like if you are told that you should be doing calculus, but you've never been taught how to do calculus, and instead of someone teaching you how to do it, they say that you should just be exposed to more calculus problems. Just exposing you to more calculus problems is not going to teach you calculus. And just exposing kids to more situations where they have to be flexible is not going to teach them how to be flexible. So instead, if you have a child who wants things to go their way and they get upset when things don't go their way, what you want to do is teach them how to think more flexibly. Now, there are actually a lot of ways you can teach a child to think more flexibly, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The first example is you can practice flexible thinking skills with engaging activities. Now, I have a lot of ideas for engaging activities. I'm going to give you one right now, and that's an activity called object rethinking. And this is where with your child or children, you identify an object, maybe a pen or a piece of paper or an airplane. It doesn't matter what it is. And you say to them, how many ways can we think of to use this object other than the way it's supposed to be used? So if you're talking about a pen, how many ways can we use a pen besides using it to write on paper? And you want to come up with as many ways as possible. And these ways can absolutely be silly and, not even real ways you could actually use a pen. It doesn't matter because here what you're doing is you're asking them to just be flexible, and you also want them to associate flexible thinking with positive feelings. So if you are being engaging and silly and coming up with ideas that aren't even realistic, their brain is going to start to think, oh, thinking flexibly is actually not that bad. So that's one example of how you can enhance their skills with engaging activities. And again, there are lots more ways you can do this. Another thing that you want to do to teach them to be more flexible is apply the skills that they're starting to learn through engaging activities to what I call non-threatening situations. Because what we usually do is we tell them they have to be more flexible, and then we talk about situations that are threatening to them. We tell them you have to be more flexible. If there are other people in the car, you can't always listen to your audiobook, or I'm not always going to make the dinner you want me to make, so you have to be more flexible. Well, what happens when you bring up these topics that are hard or uncomfortable for them, or when you're telling them that they're wrong, they just go into yuck. And when a child is in yuck, they can't use their skills. They can't practice skills. So you want to apply these skills to non-threatening situations. Maybe you're using an example of where you needed to be more flexible and you're having them coach you. So you may say to them, hey, today I ran into a problem when I was working on this project. How many other ways could I have handled this problem? Let's come up with as many ways as we can, just like we do with the object rethinking game. How many ways can we come up with that I could have dealt with this problem? Now it's not a threatening situation, but it's a real situation. So they're applying that game to real life situations, but they're doing it in a very non-threatening way. That's going to allow them to continue to practice these skills so that when they do get to a more threatening situation that's uncomfortable for them, they are more likely to have mastered these skills, or at least gotten better with these skills, so then they can be flexible in situations that are harder for them. Now, if you want to learn more about teaching kids to think flexibly, I'm about to do a workshop that is called What Kids with Big Emotions Need to Think More Flexibly. So this is specifically geared toward to raising kids who feel things strongly, who may have big reactions or maybe really hard on themselves when they're not doing things the right way, how we teach them to be more flexible. You can find more details about this training on my website at rachel-bailey.com/training. I'd love to see you there.